Hey guys, another edition of Quarantine with Coaches. Today I got head coach of Lyon College, Chris Douglas. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing great. We're surviving COVID. We're hanging out at the house a bunch. Yeah, we're doing awesome.
Yeah, head coach of Lyon College, huh? How about you have maybe had the craziest last month of anyone in college football. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
can you just talk a
It's
little bit the maybe the lows and now the highs of the last 30 days for you?
yeah. So 5 weeks from 3 o'clock tomorrow. So 3 o'clock on Friday, 5 weeks ago, basically, our school made the announcement that after 174 years of teaching young people to go out in the world, higher education is ending at McMurray College. And it wasn't a surprise. I know Urbana just the other day was kind of a surprise to everybody, but we knew that there were problems going as far back into December before Christmas. But still, it's a gut punch when that announcement's made. And so, literally within a minute of the announcement, my phone is blowing up. I couldn't keep track really fully, but it was over 500 texts. It was at least 250 to 300 DMs. There was definitely over 300 emails, and stuff like, condolences to can we get your players, to can we get your gear, to I want my Hall of Fame plaque, because I took over as the athletic director about a little over a month ago now. So on top of that, I'm getting all the alumni from all the different sports as well. And then 24 hours after the announcement, my firstborn, my daughter, gets married. And so literally 24 hours from the announcement, I'm standing on a stage in front of nobody except for 212 people on Facebook Live, and her, the rest of my family, and the groom's parents. So it was a roller coaster of emotions for definitely those 24 hours. But it's been a wild month, and to be fortunate enough, to be blessed enough to be able to land another head coaching job, and really the only head coaching job that was available in the United States at that time. It's been pretty surreal, to be honest.
That's awesome. Congratulations again. Um, I knew a little bit about Mac. I obviously went to the school in town, I guess, what is it, 2 miles away, if you will, on a small
Yeah, 12, we call it the school 12 blocks away that we don't mention.
Yeah, that one, right? Um, and I coached there too, and so I knew a little bit about the history of Mac, and there was rumors dating back to my time in Jacksonville about that potentially happening, right? But let's just think back. You took over in 2011. They had won one football game in 4 years prior to that, right? And now you're departing on 20 games over 500 in your last 5 seasons. How were you able to get that thing turned around? And then not only that, sustain that success for the last 5 years you were there?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me that. A lot of coaches, a lot of people in the community, how'd you get it done? And honestly, I tell them I don't know, because it was really a little bit of everything. When I got there, you can imagine, when you go 4 years and you've only got one win on your record, and then on top of that, the team GPA in the fall of 2011 was 2.14 for the semester. It was 2.22 for the cumulative. I mean, we had a lot of things broken. And so I don't know that there was ever just one thing that we did. It was just a bunch of little things that we just tried to make slow, gradual, continual improvement on. But I will say one thing that I think was critical to our success is we reconnected with the local high school coaches. I tell the story all the time when I go out to high schools, or I have recruits on our campus. My first winter, I should say, on campus, and we're hitting the road recruiting. We're going to visit every high school in the area. I go to New Berlin High School, and you know where it is. It's just not even 15 minutes away to the east before you get to Springfield. You can drive out on Old 36 and hit it in a heartbeat. And Coach Jeff Harris was the head coach at that time, going back 9 years ago, 7th, 8th grade social studies teacher. And I call him. He said, "Hey, come by 5th hour. I've got my plan then, and we can talk." And I walk in the building, introduce myself, walk into his office, big smile, grin on my face. First school I've been at. And he says, "Coach, it is great to see you. You're the first coach from McMurray football in 8 years." And my jaw hit the ground. And just, I realized right then and there, I mean, we knew that we had to get out and reconnect with the local high school coaches, but we didn't know how bad it was. And so it took 3 or 4 years to repair some of those relationships and get back to a situation where the high school coaches trusted us to at least coach their players up. Even though being a small college and and not having a great academic reputation, at least the high school coaches in the area knew that we were going to take care of their guys and treat them right and coach them, whether they were the last string player or the first string player. And so I think that had a lot to do with it. Our emphasis in academics and being serious about it, even though taking chances on some guys academically that may not have had great success in high school, but pouring into them into the academic side of things, whether it be study table and academic support, and some of the professionals that we had on our campus who were really, really good, and trying to recognize and reward academic success as well. One of the things that I'll make a point when we go to Lyon is when you walk into the hallway in front of our offices there, the first bulletin board you're going to see is a bunch of pictures of guys' mugshots from our roster. And it says right above there, it says Operation 3.0. And every semester we change those pictures out. And anybody that earns a 3.0 that semester, we put their face up there. And it was amazing to me, even though I'd been doing it for a while, just seeing or hearing some of the guys come to me and say, "Hey, we're talking about goals and what do you want to accomplish and what do you got to do over the summer or over the winter." And a lot of times they would come in, "Hey, I want to get on the 3.0 board." I mean, that means a lot when he could have very easily say, "Well, I want to get more touches," or I want to become a starter," or "I want to be an all-conference player." He would say, "I want to be Operation 3.0, or I want to be an academic all-conference," which we had that right next to those Operation 3.0 guys. So at a small college like McMurray, and I'm sure, like all the other Division III schools, and really any other school, you shouldn't even really classify it or pigeonhole it. Retention through academics is critical. If you want to develop a program that's going to sustain year to year, well, you've got to keep your players from year 1 to year 2, and part of that's the academic side. And so we just really hammered that home and made it as much about academics and community service and getting out in our community and helping others as much as it was football. And we made it more of a well-rounded program than one that just focused on what was happening on 10 Saturdays out of a year.
What now that you're at Lions College, being hired in a global pandemic, right? I'm sure meeting some of your players for the first time on Zoom or FaceTime or whatever, not in person, right? What are some of the obstacles that you're facing right now, and what are some maybe your plans to overcome those obstacles moving forward?
Well, the first thing is getting our staff together. We've been fortunate enough that I am inheriting a staff, but I'm also fortunate enough to be able to bring some of my staff. So there's going to be a little bit of continuity with just how we approach things with the staff that we're bringing from McMurray. But I'm getting to learn 5 different new coaches that I've never. I mean, I know one of those from previous history, but we've never worked together. So they're all trying to get a sense of who I am. And I'm stingy and I'm cheap and I haven't bought the full Zoom account. So, I can't go past 40 minutes and stuff like that. But we've been doing the Zoom conferences every day. I mean, really just starting. I fully got the job last week. We started doing one-on-ones with coaches over the phone after that. And then we've been doing the Zoom conferences. And really right now, I mean, you're catching me really in between about 15 calls earlier in the day and another 5 to 10 later this evening, where I'm touching base with each of the players individually. I felt like it was best that I call all returners now, try to get through those weeks into the weekend, and then I'm going to start working with recruits that they've signed and the commits that they have, and just getting a one-on-one with them over the phone. And then we'll start building into some Zoom conferences. But really, I got to get our coaches on board first and make them understand the direction and kind of the ins and outs of the things that we want to do. So, yeah, I had heard of Zoom time before COVID. now I think I'm on 3 to 4 times a day, whether it's McMurray stuff or we've had a couple birthdays on Zoom. In fact, my sister has a birthday tonight, and we're doing Zoom at 7 o'clock with her. So I got to get ready for that. But yeah, it's a brave new world, and we're all trying to figure it out. And there's some negative in that I'm so late to the party, and COVID has driven everybody off campus that I haven't had a chance to meet the team, and we haven't had a chance to do any type of installations or spring ball. So I feel like it puts us behind. But I don't know maybe this has been a little bit of an equalizer because no one has really had spring ball. And even though you've had spring workouts, I don't know what an online workout looks like, but everybody's having to do that now. So at least we're at the point in April that we've got all of May, all of June, all of July to start to implement our stuff, make sure our coaches know it, and then we can start pushing it out on whatever format that we're going to. And I had a discussion with an IC coach just yesterday that I'm friends with that, one thing I'm looking forward to in using some of this online platform that we have now is to onboard some of our players with the culture that we want to establish. And so where even last year, I never would have considered that. We just wait for all of our freshmen to get on campus, and then we go through all of our onboarding or our orientation stuff and tell them explain to our expectations and our standards of behavior and our standards of performance. But now I get to do that, ahead of time. And maybe that's going to save me a little bit more time that we could focus on a little bit more ball in August instead of maybe spending 30, 40 minutes in a team meeting. Maybe we only spend 15 or 20. And so if we can make ourselves a little bit more efficient that way, maybe there's some positives in this COVID outbreak, even though it's tragic what's going on with illnesses and deaths, but there's also some silver linings on the football side possibly.
Awesome. Hey, this is a sort of a new question. This is the first now, and I'm putting you a little bit on the spot here, so I hope you don't mind. But I thought it was someone brought it to my attention. I thought it'd be a good question to ask a head coach, and that is this: what do you look for when you're hiring a new assistant coach?
Absolutely. That's a big question I've wrestled with over the years. My first head coaching gig, I screwed it up royally, not because I got bad people, but I don't think some of them were not a great fit. So I think number one thing is, just like we talk about with our recruits, I can sell our college, and I see a lot of positives in our college. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what I think about it. It matters what you think about it and whether it's a good fit for you. And I have to take a similar approach when I'm talking about recruiting or trying to hire staff, is making sure that the school, the financial situation, the interactions and the belief systems between coaches are going to be a good fit for us. We have I don't know if it's unique necessarily, but it's definitely different from other places I've been. For 8 out of the 9 years that I've been at McMurray, we only had myself and our defensive coordinator were the only two full-time, as defined by the Human Resources Office, full-time coaches. But we were pretty blessed to have 5 to 6 intern coaches. They don't get paid a whole lot, but we got them housing and we got them meals on campus. And it's a great starter position for a young coach that's just, or a young guy that's just getting out of playing and wants to get and try the coaching profession. But what that creates is a dynamic that there's a lot of turnover. On average, we usually kept one of those interns about 1.25 years to 1.5 years. And that's okay. I mean, we got used to it. It's obviously not ideal. And I've had coaches that, a couple that lasted 4 years. But what it really emphasized for me was the importance of coaching the coaches and educating the coaches, but also having not a static, not a rigid belief system or rigid standard of how we did things within the staff. There's definitely flexibility and adjustments where they need to happen. But we also told coaches coming in that, hey, understand this position turns over often. So you have to be able to adapt to how we do things. We're not going to change everything we do just because you're used to something different or you would rather do it somewhat. So something simple like we call a warm-up drill, some people call walking RDL. I call it walking toe touch. That's just because that's what we've called it for a decade. And I'm not saying it's, it's something that we can't ever change, but I don't want someone coming in and changing the name of something that we do in the weight room or, out on a speed workout for 1 year and then it gets changed again. You have to have a certain amount of continuity. And so I think that was really important, was finding the right fit and then just finding guys that are eager to learn and eager to work. We can teach them the X's and O's if they've got a decent background in football. But if they're willing to work and learn how to recruit and learn how to teach and communicate, I can deal with that. The guys that they're not great learners, they don't listen very well, they don't apply themselves, they don't spend the necessary, and we're not grinders. I mean, we don't have staff meetings before 9 a.m. usually. I take my kids to school a lot of days. We have workouts in the morning and we give the guys a break and then staff meet it. So we're definitely not grinders, but you got to spend some time in this profession if you want to make it work. And there's some odd hours. I mean, guys are at the office till 9 or 10 o'clock at night with the players and study tables and things like that. So if you're not willing to do those things and you're not willing to learn or, have the capability to apply yourself that way, it's going to make it tough to be successful.
Awesome. Hey, before I let you go, we do a little rapid fire. Are you game for that?
Absolutely.
Cool. What's been the best book you've read?
The one that I've read it twice now. It is You Win in the Locker Room First. It's Coach Smith from the Falcons and John Gordon. We do a book club. I guess I'm not making this rapid because I'm going to explain here, but we do a book club with the staff every spring. And so I pulled that back off my Kindle shelf and started working back on that one. So that's one of my favorites. I love the football / personal development books.
Awesome. What's been your go-to binge show during this quarantine?
Oh gosh. So my wife and I have several. I guess the one now during quarantine that we've started getting into is New Amsterdam, the medical drama on NBC, or on us. For us, it's Roku. So,
what has been your go-to quarantine meal?
Oh goodness, we've had a lot of brownies lately. That's not necessarily a meal.
Well, it can be. I mean, it depends on who you ask, right?
That's true. That's true. I mean, you could definitely. We have challenged ourselves to make that a meal. So you know what? I'm just going to stick with that. Brownies.
Follow-up question: what place will you miss most eating at in Jacksonville, Illinois?
Well, I'm hoping there's a Buffalo Wild Wings. I haven't found one in Batesville, but B-Dubs you can't hardly beat it with all the TVs. And anytime you put bread and seasoning on chicken, I'm down.
Coach, I appreciate your time coming on Quarantine with Coaches. Best of luck to you this fall with your new team.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate it, and we're looking forward to it.